Okay, now we're going to talk about dicots. Di, meaning two, refers to the fact that as the plant grows, it branches into two different leaves or stems. Unlike the grass or bulb that is sending out a single shoot from the source, dicots send out pairs or more. You notice how it's branching. We have a pattern of branching leaves here. Most herbaceous plants will be dicots, unless, of course, they're grass or bulbs. Now on to the woody families. Hey, back to our peach tree. I pruned the peach tree this time of year, so that's a fresh cut. So now we can see the wood, the concentric circles that show the annual growth rings. You could count those rings to know how old that branch was that I cut. So woody growth scientifically is called secondary growth, and it's the tree or the shrub's ability to grow outward as well as upward. So the secondary growth or woody growth is how the tree continues to grow larger every year. Let's look at some other woody plants. This is my raspberry patch. Raspberries are bushes, scientifically known as shrubs. You can see they're starting to leaf out. Love the raspberries. So shrubs tend to get bushier, not as tall as trees, but they still produce that secondary growth or woody growth. Sometimes you're not sure if it's a bush or a shrub. This is an elderberry tree. Very excited to have elderberries now when our health is at risk, because elderberries are extremely potent healing berries, especially for respiratory disorders. But you see that scrubby, scruffy, brushy appearance. Not one single stem or trunk like the tree, but these branching, bushy, multiple stems. So a tree, we could say, has a single trunk, whereas a bush has multiple main stems. Last in our woody families are vines. This is a very young vine, only a couple years old. Clearly vines vine. They twine, they grow up, around, attaching onto trees or other means to get themselves up to sunlight. This is actually a hardy kiwi. Yes, we can grow kiwi in Ohio. There are hardy varieties of many of our favorite subtropical and tropical foods. My problem is keeping the deer from grazing on this vine. The deer love these kiwi leaves. Of course, you're familiar with grapevine. You see the distinctive tendrils that help the vine wrap around and support itself and pull itself up higher and higher into the tree canopy. These knotty tendrils, very characteristic, but you notice how they're woody. I was trying to crack that woody stem. Not easy to do. Many varieties of wild grape here in Cincinnati, which at one time, about 150 years ago, was the leading producer of wine in the United States. Here is some more grapevine, very thick. This is very old grapevine. Notice how thick its woody stem is. When children are swinging on vines in the forest, it's usually grapevine. One last vine I'd like to discuss is this terribly invasive euonymus vine. I say, you want a mess? You plant euonymus. It's a terribly invasive plant. And when I come into my woods, I like to break these off. Sometimes it takes a hatchet to cut through this vine, because ultimately it will climb and climb and climb and cover the tree canopy. You see its leaves up there. It'll cover the tree canopy and kill the tree. We've had a couple trees come down in the past 20 years. And euonymus is all over the forest floor. This is all this vine, these waxy leaves. It's everywhere in this forest. People plant euonymus, they say, oh, plant that, it'll really take over. And then it takes over everything, including the forest. It's a terrible thing. Get it off the trees whenever you see it. I try to come in here and push it back away from the trees. It's really hard to get it off of the ground. So we call that an invasive plant. An invasive species that comes in and just takes over because it has no natural controls, and it, for whatever reason, does very well. And another plant, lastly, that's very good at taking over is the honeysuckle. People say it smells great. Sure it does. Honeysuckle were planted everywhere on Earth Day in the 80s, and now we know that it too is an invasive bully. It's one of the first shrubs to leaf out in the spring and one of the last ones to go away in the fall. And what happens is it covers the forest floor so densely that other plants have a hard time getting established. So these are two things we remove often: the honeysuckle and the euonymus. So keep looking out, look around. You'll find these things in your urban environments too, busting up through the cracks and on the sides of the trunks of trees. Keep looking out for nature, and I'll see you soon. Stay healthy.